2/3 of Americans are at risk to experience blackout. You could be one of them, sitting in the dark and cold for hours, for days, maybe even weeks. Are you ready to protect your family? You could be with Patriot Power Solar Generator 2000X. Folks say this new solar generator from 4 Patriots is worth its weight in gold. Why? Because this generator has double the capacity and is expandable so you can run the big appliances like your fridge even longer. Or other devices like an electric blanket, microwave, RV air conditioner, or even an electric wheelchair. You also get 12 outlets, including 4 AC outlets, so you can power more devices at once, and 2 USB-C outlets, which can charge your phone 20 times faster than a regular plug. Best of all, this new solar generator is fume-free, safe to use inside, and never needs gas, ever. Over 150,000 Americans trust Patriot Power generators. Go to 4patriots.com/VTTGW to get your solar generator now. You'll even get a solar panel included free.
Hey, what's up, trash talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
Here is a firm believer in all men are created equal, but not all men live equal. That is why there's a certain select number of people in the DoD who decided to jump out of airplanes. And yes, we are better than you. 100%. Now, don't be the first triggered pansy to say, well, airborne's not relevant. You haven't jumped since World War II. Well, that's not accurate, for one. And two, it's like having a jalopy or a 68 Mustang. Well, a 68 Mustang's no longer relevant. Doesn't matter. It's still a better car than yours. So take it easy this National Airborne Day and just accept that we are better than you.
So, 2 things for today's Honesty Cap. First thing, how do all my boys from the 101st feel knowing that the Army decided that instead of actually making you airborne, they would just create a whole new division that's airborne because you just aren't cutting it? It sucks. Thing number 2, for all the folks who were like, oh, airborne is irrelevant, doesn't even matter. They're making a whole new division of just airborne people because they're relevant. Think about that. How's that feel? Does it hurt a little bit? I hope it hurts a little bit.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What is going on, VTT? Happy Saturday. What's up, Gruntworks Nation? Welcome to episode 159 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Ian, and today I'm joined by Cliff, our mental health warrior, and Buddy. Happy Saturday, y'all. What's going on?
What's up, guys? How's your Saturday going?
We got a lot going on. Tyler graduated high school, obviously off to the Army soon. So we got
Nice.
he loves hibachi, so we got a chef coming. and we're doing a pool party, and we're gonna have a chef cook hibachi in the backyard.
Must be nice to be
That
rich.
is it.
Wow. Wow.
Whatever.
Maybe if you
It really
paid
wasn't
your
that
fair share
expensive,
of
actually.
taxes,
It really wasn't that.
have the money
Yeah.
for all this hibachi stuff. Let them eat
Yeah.
cake is what it sounds like you're saying, but you're like, let them eat hibachi. Like,
Yeah, it's actually cheaper than going to a hibachi place, a real nice one, to be honest with you. It's this local company. They do a lot of parties. It's pretty legit.
I'm poor. I'm retired and on a fixed budget income. So
I'm retired as well, buddy. I'm
I
retired
don't
as
get
well.
to I don't get to do hibachi. Sometimes I can find leftover rice, and
Yeah.
people throw away their shrimp, and I use it. I put it together, called my own little hibachi. It's like hobo
Yeah,
bachi.
but Chris has said it best. You're about to marry royalty. You know, you're marrying a French lady.
But she doesn't do
How is that?
hibachi.
Are you going to move to France like full time, or are you just going to keep on doing this back and forth thing?
Hey, if you go to France, you won't be too far from me.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think so. I think I'll be going back and forth quite a bit, but I will not be. I will never be moving to France.
That's what's up.
You didn't carry a man purse.
Yeah, they go where? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. French people are fine, but only in small doses. They're like Motrin. You can take them for a little while, but then they hurt.
Gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha.
So,
Anyway, all right. Well, I'm going to kickstart the show with a conspiracy. I was really having a hard time finding a conspiracy because I felt like we've talked about everything, but then watching TikTok and YouTube, you know, the Vatican. All right, we've talked about the Vatican in the past, but did you guys hear about the special like news conference that they had? Well, the conference that they had yesterday and the press release and all that. Like,
Talking
I haven't gone
about
into
the
full detail.
supernatural
This is
event
like-
that's supposed to happen.
Yes,
I don't
yes,
really
yes.
watch a lot of Vatican news. I don't know about.
Yeah, well, it was like all over TikTok and
They moved to
I
France.
don't
You
know.
need to start streaming it.
Cliff being in Italy, maybe you heard of it, but like you can just Google it, and it's basically they released new guidance for alleged supernatural phenomena and how to deal with it. Like the Vatican, just like, and the last time they did this was 60 years ago. I have a video that we're gonna play real quick, and then we'll talk about it and figure out what's going on. Chris, go ahead and play that video.
Chris, with sound, Chris.
Yeah, with sound, Chris.
We play it with sound. Good job, Chris. You are batting 1,000. All right, good video. Good
That was
video.
awesome. I was shocked by that.
Hey, welcome Ian.
Maybe
Ian,
Chris.
how's it
There we go.
We get reports from all over the world all the time about appearances or apparitions from religious figures, people who genuinely, in some cases, and maybe in bad faith in others, report that they see religious figures appearing in front of them. So the church is basically saying now they've got a new process to review which ones of those are explainable, which ones may be mistakes or misunderstood, and which ones may just be straight up hoaxes or false. And then the other category of what they may appear to be legitimately things that they cannot explain with human means. And effectively, what we're seeing is the Vatican wants a deeper hand to deal with these kinds of things more directly. And interesting because this is the first time in some 50 years that the church is openly discussing and talking about how it's going to handle these kinds of reports.
Okay, so there's a whole video that goes into like all the details that they spoke about yesterday, and then it really ties into the stuff that's unexplainable. And you know, some could call that stuff obviously conspiracy and it's not real, and then some could say it is real. And then here's my tinfoil hat. We've talked about Project Bluebeam in the past on this show, where the government is going to stage some fake alien invasion or some fake, you know, coming of Christ and everything. And everybody's going to believe it, and it's to take over the world and one world government. So I don't know. I feel like the Vatican. I feel like there's some like fishy shit going on. Maybe there's something that's going to be staged here pretty soon to like get the masses to follow, and then be able to take over and create one world government. That's my take on it. It's the Vatican is like doing some corrupt shit, and we're going to see aliens here pretty soon. Ian, what's your take?
I don't know about that. I mean, the Vatican is a very religious
Horrible.
center point. I don't know if I'd go. I have heard of crazy things like that happening. Images and things being seen in important religious spaces and locations and stuff. I don't know if it's going to go that far to where we're going to have like you said, aliens or government takeover or anything. But I mean, anything is possible. It's definitely something to keep your mind going for sure.
Yeah, I just think it's really weird that they're now just suddenly talking about that, like how to deal with situations like that. So I don't know, because situations like that are occurring, I guess, and they're unexplainable. I don't know. It's just really weird that they would, because they have so much power and so much reach, and that they're actually wanting to address this themselves. Just it's kind of like, what the fuck's going to happen this year? Cliff, what's your take?
Hey, Morris here. My take on it is nobody in Italy gives a shit. Nobody cares here. All they care about is having a good time and enjoying life, and fuck everything else. So this is what I've learned since living in Italy. I was at Mount Vesuvius the other day. We hiked up it, and I was talking
Mount
with the guard.
Pasubio. You went to Pasubio?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been to Pasubio. You went to the yellow restaurant at the very top?
Well, I was with my kid's son's school, so we didn't go to the restaurant, but we did walk by it. We didn't go in it.
Nice. Pasubio's beautiful, man. That's outside of Torre Vergine. That's where my Italian family's from, dude. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, awesome. Yeah, so I was asking the guide, I said, one thing I noticed about here in Italy, people, they live for the moment. They're all happy mostly, and they're just having a good time with family and friends. And I said, why is that? And he said, because of this. It could go off at any time. He's pointing towards a volcano. So I don't think they care about superstitious stuff. I think, there's going to be some crazy shit going on in 2024 with everything going on with the election, everything going in the United States. And I think they're just trying a way to keep people on edge. And I think they're just, constantly coming up with crap all the time. The Vatican's an hour away from where I live. I've been there a couple of times. To me, I just think they're just trying to, I don't know, say.
Why address it though? Why make it a vocal point to hold a press release specifically? That's just kind of, it's weird, man.
Well,
it's weird.
It is weird, but there's been some bad press come out about the Pope too, and I wonder if they're just trying to run smokescreen on it.
Oh,
about his health
about
his health and some other stuff going on with inside the church. So I think it could be a smokescreen. What you say, buddy?
Good take.
I mean, honestly, the first I've heard of it was that news story that you just played. And to me, it could be as much as they've got some way better, some new information, or they could have just been like, hey, let's open up their own little portal page on the Vatican.com.web.org.mil or whatever. And they're like, hey, when we deal with it now, you have to go to this drop-down menu and go over to UFOs, Jesus and a piece of toast, freaking, people bleeding from their hands and feet, whatever. And then
stigmata.
So there's really not a lot in that story. I mean, to be fair, I think the Vatican probably knows a lot more about a lot of things because they have a information SWAT team that just shows up and gobbles up artifacts and shit from other places. They store all that stuff in their warehouse and all that. So, I mean, they probably have some reason for it, but I don't think it's some weird take over the world conspiracy. I mean, the Vatican and Catholicism has been trying to take over the world for a long time.
Yeah, that's religious.
Maybe they just went. Maybe they just went digital with it. They just digitized everything, and you can search the Vatican's red side for something. I don't fucking know. It just.
Yeah, I just found it. I found it pretty interesting. It's like I said earlier, just to make it a vocal point, to have to even discuss that.
Yeah.
Why is that even what? Who cares? But then when they discuss it, then it's well, is something about to go down, or is there something that's about to happen, and they just want to prepare people for it, And if so, is it staged or it's actually real? Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, well, let's face it. If the Vatican says something, there's a good portion of the world that's gonna listen, regardless of what it is. So
yeah,
you never know.
Yeah, 2024, huh?
Yeah,
who knows?
Hey,
anyway.
Elections are coming up. Should be
Yeah. Good take, gents. Good take.
Time in the
Cliff.
entire world.
That's right.
Cliff.
I just
go
saw
ahead,
I just saw a thing today. Speaking of elections, there's an island in the South Pacific that the French own that's in like full revolt. They just had to send like a bunch of French soldiers and gendarmes over there to quell the violence. They killed 5 people, all about them changing the voting rules. And they so New Caledonia, if you look it up. So shit's going crazy everywhere. Just not us. It's not us. It's everyone. Everyone's going nuts.
Everything's not crazy in Italy.
Yeah.
Anywho.
But anyway, Cliff, you're gonna announce something exciting. We saw the message when you sent it to us, but like, talk about this, man. You were awarded from DC.
Had no idea. So a couple of years ago, the Able channel filmed a documentary on me called "Surviving Suicide," and with COVID and everything, just kind of they did a soft release and just kind of got messed up. And so they kind of retooled it and they re-released it. And my episode, which is episode 1 of the series, I think there's 6 stories, was nominated for an Emmy. So June 22nd, I'm flying from Italy to DC to attend the ceremony. Fingers crossed that I win. I don't know which Veterans Trash Talk shirt I'm going to wear on stage. Maybe the Triggered Pansy one. But
the one you're wearing would be perfect, man. The one you're wearing would be perfect. And for anybody that's watching, you can cop that at shop.veterantrashtalk.com. I know it was a shameless plug. No, it really wasn't, because it's our clothing line. So
right. You got to use it. But
it's exciting, Cliff.
I am kind of excited about it. Monday, I got my Italian friend Pepe. He's going to take me to his tailor, so I'm going to get a custom-made suit for the event. It's a black tie affair. So. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. I do all this stuff. I do the Mental Health Warrior podcast. I do the Mental Health Minutes. Of course, now I got Hatchling and Bull that's on them with me, so it's kind of funny. Got the 2 little stuffed animals that do crap with on the minute or the break. Now I call it Mental Health Break. But it's just you just keep plugging along. And I talked about this in my Mental Health Break the other day. It's just so many people get negative. So many people tell you can't do this. So many people tell you can't succeed, and you just keep slugging through the shit, right? You keep moving forward. And then one day out of the blue, you received an email and you're up for a freaking Emmy. And, that's just pretty amazing. So to everybody out there who's in a bad place right now, who's got their head down and you just can't seem to make any headway, you seem like you're stalemating, just keep pushing forward, because eventually it will get better. And who knows, something out of the blue may happen, just like happened to me the other day. I mean, I just notified 2 days ago. So.
That's what's up, dude. Congratulations, man. Cheers to that. That's badass, dude.
Cheers. Yeah. So now you guys know an Emmy nominee. So with the duos, you can get a cafe with that. Cafe.
Yeah. Bravo. Exactly. Bravo. Buddy.
Yeah.
You have the distinct honor to introduce our guest.
It's my turn to bring on the guest. And today we've got Ian Murray. And Ian, I'm going to tell you, I've gone to your website, I've read your bio, and I am just confused. Your story is like you need a flow chart on there instead of just the bio. So Ian was a corrections officer in Jacksonville, Florida. And we're going to give you a little time to sum up your story. He was also a National Guard or reservist.
Both.
But National Guard and reservist, deployed to Afghanistan, has done some contracting work, basically been out of the country. And then the sheriff's department decided that serving your country and being at war was not a valid excuse for not being at the correctional facility. So they arrested him, charged him with some stuff, been doing some harassing. But Ian, I'm going to pass it over to you and just give us a 10-minute synopsis of what happened to you. And then we'll go from there. But I think it's probably best to just let you tell your story so that other people can hear it.
Okay. Well, just to clarify one thing, I didn't go to Afghanistan until after this whole thing happened. But like you said, I was in the when I got hired on with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in 2009, I was in the National Guard. At this point, I'd been in the military for about 7 years. And when I was hired, I still remember when I was in my hiring board, they encouraged me to use all the military benefits that they offered their employees. I didn't even know about a lot of them. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So unfortunately, though, after I got hired, things just started going bad. As far as my military service, I had several instances where supervisors were trying to hem me up one way or another for taking time off to do my guard or my reserve duty. It was so bad at one point, they had to move me from the facility I was working at to another one because of the supervisors just trying to do things that were grossly against the laws that were put in place to protect me as a service member. So, yeah, I switched facilities. I ended up going back to work at that facility because a supervisor there that I knew actually asked me to transfer back. He had a spot on his squad, said, hey, I'd like you to come back, work for me. I put in the transfer request. And of course, this lieutenant, the one who started this whole thing, deliberately did not put me on his squad. I ended up working for another sergeant who was part of the previous problems I've mentioned. So unfortunately, yeah, it was a little bit of a tumultuous environment, but being in the military, they teach us to be resilient. You know, I came to work, I did my job the best I could, followed the rules, did what I needed to do to make my living. I mean, the way I feel, I was there to, it was an 8-hour shift. I was there to do my job, go home and live my life. It wasn't going to be my whole life. So, but yeah, in 2014 is when we had one of our first government shutdowns, and it fell on when we had a drill weekend. I had a drill scheduled for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I had all the proper paperwork. I'd already turned it in, gotten the time approved and everything like that months earlier. So I remember that Thursday night, I contacted my supervisor to confirm we were coming into drill. And he said, well, as of now, the government shutdown's going on. We're not reporting in, but you still are on orders. So make yourself available because you still have orders to be on military duty. And I thought, okay, sure, sounds good. It's not the first time that's happened in my guard and reserve career. So I did just what he said. The Saturday and Sunday, we did go to drill. Everything was cool. Well, months later, we had got updated calendars, and they covered the whole fiscal year. And when I turned it into my lieutenant to amend the time off for the rest of the year, she noticed that they had removed that Friday from the drill several months earlier and asked me about it. And I told her the situation, and she instructed me to change that day from a military leave day to a personal leave day. And I thought that was a little strange because I had orders at the time to be on military duty. So I was a little confused. So I went and talked to my military unit, and they said, yeah, you had orders. You shouldn't have to do that. But if that's your civilian policy, your employer's policy, you need to go ahead and do what they tell you to do to avoid getting in trouble. So I went to one of my union representatives within the sheriff's office, explained the same situation. And he said, yeah, you didn't do anything wrong, but if you don't do this, she could write you up for insubordination. So you should just go ahead and do it. You're not doing anything wrong. I said, okay, cool. So I went to work, accommodated her request. The same day I turned it in, she denied it. And then about a week later, I got a phone call from one of the supervisors at my military unit claiming that they were getting phone calls from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Integrity Unit. So it was clear at that point she'd filed a false complaint against me. So I was like, what the hell? I contacted the same union rep, and he's like, yeah, you didn't do anything wrong. As long as you have orders for all your duty time, this will blow over. They'll do their investigation, and you should be fine. So I had faith in the system that these detectives were actually going to do their jobs and do them properly. And unfortunately, I was sorely mistaken. About 4 months after this started, I was about to go on a TDY assignment out of state to go do my intel training for the position I'm in now. And I turned in the leave. I took a couple days off before on my personal leave just so I could spend. I was married at the time. I wanted to spend some time with my wife and my family. So this was a Friday afternoon. I was supposed to ship out the following Monday for 3 months. And mid-afternoon sometime, I'm sitting in my living room, and there was a loud knock at the garage door, not the front door, but the door that leads out to the garage where my car and my Harley were parked. I open the door, and there's 4 guys standing there in like semi-tactical gear. They're wearing like bulletproof vests. They had, their pistols strapped to their chests. And I'm like, can I help you guys? And they're like, are you Ian Murray? I said, yeah. And they said, are you Corrections Officer Murray? I'm like, yeah, that's me. One of them grabbed me and spun me around and put handcuffs on me and said, we have a warrant for your arrest. And I started laughing at first. I thought it was a joke, thinking my friends at the jail were just playing a prank on me. And it wasn't. They took me down, started asking me all these questions. And I said, well, what did my orders say? It was all regarding my military duty. And I'm like, well, what did my orders say? They kept asking me, where were you this day? I said, what did my orders say? And it was pretty clear at that point they never even went to the records department and asked for my orders to verify I'd been on military duty.
Okay,
So
real quick, why would they come like and then I got so many questions. This is great.
That they would
Yeah, like if you just don't show up for work,
you're
why would they want to arrest you? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, what happened was
they
I
just
was
not showing up to work and just saying I quit. Like they can't come in.
They don't, like the McDonald's, the Hamburglar and fucking Ronald don't show up because the fry guy decided not to come in, and like I just like that's crazy to me that they like you got nothing better to do than come over because the guys like if you want to fire me, but
what was their reason behind coming and arresting you? What was their
I found out later.
I hated to cut you off, but we got to ask some questions in between.
That's fine.
Otherwise, we'll all get lost in translation, brother.
No, like you said, it can be very confusing. It's hard to believe, but it happened. But anyway, what happened was that one day I mentioned that lieutenant ordered me to change. That was part of the whole thing. But there were another 3 days they were trying to include in their criminal complaint against me, where when I was switching from guard to reserve, I had to go through the MEPS process again. So I took time off for that, which I had orders for, and they had included that in the complaint, arguing that it wasn't on my drill calendar. I'm like, you do realize I get orders besides what's on my drill calendar, right? I mean, I get called up for extra duty all the time.
Yeah.
And it was just
if there's a hurricane in Florida, you might have to do something like
so I think they realized really quick they made a mistake, but the problem was they immediately after they arrested me, they went to the media with this false narrative. And because like by the time this interview was over and they took me down to the jail, a couple of my friends were working and they saw me come in and they heard about what was going on. And they came and said, yeah, man, it's all over the news. Like within 30 minutes of them affecting the false arrest, the news was already on it.
But why were they arresting you because you were claiming work time and getting paid for it or not? Or what first of all, caveat, I was in the Guard for 30 years plus. And so I dealt with things, not to the severity of what you're talking about, but this is coming from your employer, not from the Guard or Reserve.
Correct.
That came to arrest you.
Right.
And this is a premise because of they're saying that you claimed time, you falsified records. What were they saying? What were they saying exactly you were doing? Because if somebody's just organically listening to in our audience out there, they're wondering the same thing we're wondering. And,
no, they tried charging.
This can happen to anybody nowadays with all the goofy stuff going on.
Well, they tried charging me with official misconduct on the basis that I'd falsified records, and then they tried charging me with grand theft, arguing that the amount of time I took amounted over a certain dollar amount. So they basically trumped it up to felony level charges to try and make the case look more robust to them. So needless to say, I told them, I'm like, you guys are making a big mistake. I'm not just going to take this. I told them I'm not just going to take this lying down. So fortunately, my wife, I was able to call my wife, and she was able to come get me out of jail. I had to pay a bond to get out of jail. I got out, and then the following Monday, obviously I couldn't go. My clearance was immediately flagged, so I couldn't go on my training that I was scheduled to go on. And that Monday, I hired I called the same union lawyer I'd been talking to, who told me this is the same guy who had been telling me I'd done nothing wrong, that, as long as you got your orders, you're fine, yada, yada, yada. The same lawyer basically said, oh, well, I can help you get a deal where if you're vested, I can save your pension. I said, what are you talking about? He's like, well, yeah, you're going to have to plead guilty to this. I said, I'm not pleading guilty to anything. I didn't do anything wrong. You told me I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. So it was pretty clear that the union was not on my side. They were there to look out for the sheriff's officer. Someone had, gotten to them and told them, you need to convince this guy to do what's right, for us and not for him. So I went and hired an actual private lawyer. And when I did that, within the first week, they did more investigating than they did the whole 4 months prior. They went to my Army unit, tried to question my first sergeant and other people, and they basically told them to piss off. They're like, yeah, you guys didn't come to us once before this whole thing happened. We're not helping you now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a law out, and just for anybody who's watching who just wants to join the reserves as well, they have to allot you that drill time. Well, and then the reserve unit and the guard units will provide a calendar, a full year out usually, right? The yearly training calendar.
By law, it's a yearly training calendar.
And then the employee gets that calendar and knows, hey, my guy's going to be out this weekend, this month, and that weekend next month. And then, oh, by the way, these 2 weeks in the summertime. And why would they jeopardize to lose face and everything over, it just sounds, it's crazy because it's a federal law. You cannot fire somebody for being in the reserves or in the National Guard, Well,
they weren't trying to fire me. They were trying to criminally charge me with something wrong.
It's even more insane. You know what I mean?
It's even worse, right?
Which to me, to clarify, like Ian said earlier, there's a difference between a training calendar and a realistic calendar of National, for instance, my niece is in the National Guard. She gets a training calendar.
Yeah.
But there are also times where they're like, hey, you're deploying, you're going to go on this deployment. That's different.
Absolutely.
Prior to the training calendar isn't a personalized, Ian Murray is doing this every day. It's the unit is doing this. But if you have to go to WLC, BLC, if you're going to MEPS to change over to the National Guard, if you're going to a changing MOSs, doing whatever, that's not going to be on that calendar.
Right, exactly.
They still, by law, are supposed to recognize those things and allow you to go on it, especially if you were in the National Guard or the reserves when you got the job. It's not like it was a secret.
Mm-hmm. No, it's also the Guard members' responsibility
when you're on orders. Yeah,
but also to let their employer know of any changes to that calendar when it occurs within a specified amount of time. And so you just can't say most employers aren't going to go against the Guard and Reserve because it's going to get too ugly for them. But it's still the responsibility of that employee to allow that employer to know what's going on with their training, even if it differs from the yearly training calendar with
it sounds like Ian did. Is that what you did? Did you tell them when you got the orders, hey, I'm going to be gone X, this time or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. And the way that worked when we got the drill calendar, they always had me submit it for the full year. They told me go in the leave system and put it in for the whole year. So they were very well aware the whole year, for the whole fiscal year, that I was going to be committed to the military for these drill dates. And then anytime I got actual orders to do supplemental training or get called up for extra duty, I'd always, as soon as I got those orders, I'd bring them to work and say, here you go, and put in the leave again. And like I said, it's impossible.
Who did you piss off in that?
I want to make I'm going to create a dumpster fire right now. Who inside your leadership got shafted by somebody in the military and now they're going after you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
No. What happened was this whole thing.
This is a witch hunt, bro.
Yeah. This whole thing was this lieutenant that filed the complaint. It was well known she didn't like me on a personal level. I don't know why. But yeah, she set me up for this. We found out later she'd been stalking my Facebook page. She took pictures off my Facebook page of days I wasn't even on military leave, days where I'd been on military leave and then I took time off on my own time afterwards.
What do you mean took pictures? Oh, she grabbed them and then
she put him in the plane, saying, look, he's at Disney World with his family, and they even said he's not on military leave these days. He's using his annual leave. So even the detectives were coming back at her you're full of it on this. What's your problem? But yeah, it was pretty clear that she had.
It's clear. We haven't gotten to that part of the problem, but they ended up not even charging you.
Nope. They didn't even do the
Yeah.
paperwork.
Yeah. So, but the other thing is crazy. And sheriff's departments are historically very incestual, if you will. Like, it's the same people that work for the sheriff is voted in.
Oh, you're right.
But there's no real, like, it is a lot of times, not all the time, but in a lot of situations, it's a large elected good old boy system.
Oh, very much so.
And,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And if
In the
you're on
Jacksonville
the
Sheriff's Office,
outskirts,
it's like all like that. It's
yeah,
it's like
if
90%
you're on the
good old
outskirts
boy.
in a lot of places, I'm not saying all of them, but in a lot of places, if you're on the outskirts, like, you know, somebody that may know somebody or has lived in that town forever and has, like, they were buddies in high school or middle school, can become a detective.
Oh, very much.
Somebody that moved there and, you know, doesn't have the network that they have is just the patrol guy forever. That's why a lot of sheriffs that are not from that town generally end up being on the police department in that town, because it's kind of a different culture, I guess.
So Ian, I got a question for you. So you get arrested, you get bonded out, and then what happened next? After you hired the attorney and you went, your private attorney, what occurred after that?
Well, the detectives, like I said, they finally decided to actually investigate because they had to at that point. They went to my Army unit. My Army unit said, no, we're not going to help you. Then they threatened my Army unit, came in and tried to subpoena my training NCO and my first sergeant. And they,
what?
Yeah, they, my training NCO basically told them, said, if you guys come back in here one more time, I'm calling Fox News and I'm going to tell them the JSO is harassing an Army unit and that they arrested one of their own employees for serving in the military. That was the last time those detectives set foot in my
You should have been deferring everything to JAG, but okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, and with this all still going on, the state attorney even gave him like another 2 months to try and dig up dirt, which there was none. And while this was all still going on, OPM came in to do a follow-up on my clearance, and they even said to my first sergeant, is this some kind of a joke? And he said, I'm afraid not. This actually happened to this poor guy. OPM
What's your MOS, if you don't mind me asking, and for the viewers, like, what's your MOS in the reserves or in the guard?
I'm 35. I'm 35 Lima. Intelligence.
You got a top secret clearance too.
Yep.
Like nothing you can like fuck around with and like have like a bad rap sheet, right?
Exactly. So
or credit
that's but they ended up OPM came in while this was still pending and gave me my top secret clearance back before the state attorney even made the final decision not to prosecute me. So that just shows you how weak this whole thing was. But that's what I mean. The Army stood behind me 100%. And that really made JSO mad because like they thought they could go in there and muscle. Like even some of my leadership told the Army or the JSO detectives, like, you guys are big, but the Army's bigger. We're going to win. I promise you. And we did win.
I am still mind blown. I got to stop real quick. I'm still mind blown at the 4 dudes that
showing up to his
house because you, even if you
show up to work,
even if you did what they
do with me not showing up to work.
Yeah, even if you just didn't show up to work, like you called out, you were like, whatever. Like, it blows my mind that people would be like, hey, go get a tech. Like, we had dudes, even in the Army, like in the active Army, there were dudes that, like, if you're sick, you still come to work because you got to go to sick call, all that stuff. But there were guys that just didn't show up or didn't show up for, you know, a day or two, and we would go to their house to go pick them up. But it wasn't like we weren't strapped up with like you went to their house, you knocked on their door, and you were like, yeah, you're just like, hey, bro, like, why didn't you come to work? Let's go. You gotta go.
Well, this particular day, I was on annual leave. I'd already put in to take that day off. They knew I was at home.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, that's crazy. I mean, they probably could have just called you and said, hey, man,
fucking wasted leave. You should tell the Army, give me that leave day back.
Well, let me ask you this though, Ian. On the flip side of that, so the case was thrown out, or they dropped the charges.
I was never even charged.
Yeah, where are we at now?
So are you suing them now for?
We already did sue them.
Okay,
that's already happened. We got a settlement out of court. My lawyers and I did, but yeah, after the charges were after the
settlement. I know you don't need to share it. I mean, unless it was public.
I'll say it wasn't as much as we were hoping for, but just the fact they settled. But they spent over $500,000 for this whole thing trying to cover it up. So that should tell you how much it cost them. So
did you go back to work for them, or did you
No.
you had to stop work?
Yeah, Cliff.
There's no
he's
way I
working
went
for
back.
them again.
Well, that's what
Hey, I would have went back to work because I would have thrown it in their faces the whole time.
Well, no, I wasn't going to do that because I actually was going to get to that after they dropped the after they decided not, after all the threatening and the intimidation, and they finally decided to not charge me. They turned it over to an internal affairs investigation to try and save face, to try and make it look like I violated a policy. The first thing my lawyer did when they did that, he immediately sent 2 letters out. He sent one to the internal affairs reminding him I had counsel and not to contact me unless it was through them. He then also sent my entire case file over to the city manager's office and with a letter explaining the situation. We got a letter back from the city manager indicating that I'd violated no rules and broken no policies. So that pretty much put that, but they still continue with the investigation. The detective they were using, I found out was also in the military, and I have a very interesting way of how I found that out. My unit again called me and said, hey, there's a guy from the sheriff's office, and he's going around falsely identifying himself in his military capacity as he's investigating for the military, trying to elicit information from us on behalf of the sheriff's office.
That is a federal crime.
Yeah, and from what I understand, so
that's not allowed.
Yeah, and then this guy, on top of that, when it came down for him to try and talk to me, he called me directly, and I said, "Did you not get the letter my lawyer sent you?" And he began to have a conniption fit, telling me, "I'm not asking, I'm telling you, you're going to come in and talk to me and give me a statement, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "What's your name and phone number?" And as soon as I got that, I hung up and called my lawyer and just gave it to him and let him deal with him. But then while this was still going on, I did finally get to go to that training I was originally supposed to go to. And while I was there, this detective found out. He made it a point to contact the school. It had nothing to do with his investigation. In fact, at this point, the investigation had been concluded. He called the schoolhouse I was at to inform them that I'd been arrested and was under investigation to try and get me kicked out of the schoolhouse.
Wow.
So,
so when you sued them and you got your settlement, was it for the false arrest, or was it for if you got all that documented, I would just own a part of Jacksonville at that point. Like it would be called like the Murray Center.
I already feel like I do, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Did you sue them for harassment? Did you I don't know.
Obviously they're not letting that shit go.
Well, the thing is too, I did find out when this was all over that they've had to they've made massive policy revisions based off my case, like the internal affairs. They can't just go on a whim and investigate freely. Anytime they go to a judge to get a warrant signed, they have to run the whole case through like their chain of command now, and that's all based off of me. So I mean, I may not have gotten a huge, multi-million-dollar settlement like I would have liked to, but I definitely made my footprint in that sheriff's office. So that's how I feel about it.
Just makes you wonder too, Buddy mentioned it earlier, just makes you wonder how much other shit that they're pulling off, or how much other damage they've done. Whether it's and I support the blue all day long, but there are bad apples like there are in every organization. But it just makes you think they're probably full. They're just corrupt as fuck.
They are.
It's hard to believe what you're telling us, but you seem genuine. You obviously won the lawsuit. It doesn't make sense.
You also have
to
take into account that he was one of their own. What are they doing with just regular dudes that don't have a lawyer? Or
that's
maybe they wanted him to quit so they could give a job to another buddy to give a job to their buddy.
Well, what they do is
get him out.
Well, they
Jacksonville is kind of well, I'm not gonna say it's hood, but Jacksonville's got some rough areas, right?
Well, they set people up for that kind of thing though, because when this whole thing happened, the first thing they did was put me on unpaid leave. So they take away your income, whereas you get other police officers who are engaged in shady stuff, they get put on paid leave. So what does that tell you? And then they publicly humiliate you through the media. they basically take away your will to fight. But that's the problem. I still had the will to fight even without having my paycheck. Fortunately, I had some savings put away. My Army unit stepped up and gave me some extra duty days. I was able to pick up some odd jobs. My ex-wife picked up some work. So we were able to get by and still fight this and hire a lawyer and actually fight, and when that's the thing, when they realized I was doing that, they were like, oh crap, because the union president, the same guy who told me I did nothing wrong, at one point, even he called me trying to get me to take a deal because the sheriff's election was coming up and they wanted to get it resolved before then. He even told me he was glad I was fighting back so hard because he said they've done this to people and gotten away with it because the people they did it to couldn't fight back. And this was people within the sheriff's office. They go after their own people. Like you said, if you're not part of that good old boy club, especially if you're a corrections officer, they view you as an expendable asset that they can just use to make a stepping stone for their career. A lot of these detectives too, some of them I talked to, these internal affairs and these integrity detectives, like one of them said, oh, I was a homicide detective for 20 years. And I'm like, why did you switch from that to doing this?
Yeah.
And he didn't have an answer for me. So obviously, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
So now for anybody that tuned in late and for everybody that's going to rewatch this or, listen to it later on Spotify, and like you have a website, like is it over now or
Yeah,
you're like, okay.
The lawsuit's been done. The only resolve we never got was, like I said, the media ran a completely false narrative against me. They refused to even acknowledge our request for like a retraction or a redaction of the original headlines. So this is why
recently there's been a precedent set for suing the media with that kid from the
Covington kid. Covington High School.
Covington High School.
The one that shot the guys that were trying to.
That's a kid from Wisconsin, but there's also the other one in Washington D.C. where they.
The Native American guy.
He was from Covington High School. Yeah.
I remember that.
Both of them got multi-$100 million lawsuits.
Yeah, they got, but I mean, it's really not. To be honest, it's not the money. It's the fact that somebody has to be held accountable for their actions. Point. And I mean, honestly, if you were to sue the media and Jacksonville again for the defamation of character, defamation, whatever, false, like a false story, whatever, because you would have to probably put both of them on because the media is just going to say, well, that's the information that we got.
And that's the problem.
And you're going to have to say, well, what due diligence did you do to check that information?
Right. We're also talking about mainstream media, buddy. Like,
yeah. They also have a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it just seems.
Well, I'm also saying they share a lot of garbage too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if you would get far with that one, but maybe like if they provided information to the media after the case was done, like, why are we still doing this shit? Like, it's over.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's that website though? For anybody that's watching, like, you have a website, right?
Ian.murray.net.
Okay.
But
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, the whole thing was just mind blowing, and the biggest shocker to this whole thing was when I was hired with the sheriff's department, I had to go through their academy. We got countless hours of lectures on ethics, things like you make a mistake, own up to it, be an adult, this and that. And not once through this whole thing did anybody own up to a mistake they made. In fact, like even when we got up before the undersheriff, at the time, this guy's named Pat Ivy. Like when we got to his office, we actually thought maybe this guy's finally going to do the right thing and try to resolve this the right way. Even he tried to basically force me to take some kind of a plea deal right before the civil service hearing. And all he did was make excuses for his detectives, saying things like I could have been more cooperative and this and that. I'm like, I did everything but kiss their ass, and I'm not, part of my language, but I'm not going to do that. It's not my job to do that. And this is the same guy that also initiated the harassment campaign you earlier mentioned against my ex-wife and I. He sent people to my house. My ex-wife was afraid. She told me people were following her to and from work, things like that. So,
So here's a question, and again, we talked about like sheriff's offices before, and so there are millions of people that are in the National Guard and reserves. after going through what you went through, what advice would you give someone else who to keep that from happening? Like, what do you think you could have done to like, because you gave them all your stuff. Like, I mean, the only thing that I can think is like you almost have to record what people are saying. Like you have to record like the union guy telling you that you did nothing wrong, or like keep track of like all of what you gave them, like a timeline. And that just seems exhausting if you're not actually it seems paranoid until it happens to you, and then it's not. But you know what I mean? Like what do you think? What advice would you give somebody else so that they didn't have to go through the same thing?
Well, again, just document everything, keep a track and a ledger. That's what I did. And ultimately, yeah, this was a horrible thing, but doing that is what saved me from being railroaded. When this whole thing happened, I had all my ducks in a row. That's what I mean. When I was falsely arrested on Friday, by Monday afternoon, we had all the paperwork we needed and were able to provide it to the state attorney to show that I had orders for all those days.
Yeah.
And even the state attorney's like, how come they didn't find this during their investigation? And we said, you'll have to ask them that.
They didn't even do an investigation. They're
didn't,
like
not
fucking
really.
shady as fuck.
Well,
Clear as day.
My philosophy on that is they might have done the investigation, but I think they were just trying to make an example. Like, because a lot of these detectives, like I mentioned, they're either flunkies from other divisions or they're police officers that are trying to climb the ladder. So they basically, I think they felt that they could just make a case for themselves, look good, and move themselves up into getting one of those more elite detective.
Yeah, but anybody with a little bit of intelligence realize that like that's probably not the case I want to take. Like he's like on drill. Like this is not. There's no winning on like
Jacksonville
on border. It just doesn't make sense.
It's a big town. There's got to be other crimes that are actually happening that you could solve that might help you. Like you don't have to make up cases in Jacksonville.
No.
That place is a little crazy sometimes.
They show up at Ian's door, fucking full battle rattle, ready to rock and roll.
Like,
and I don't live in Jacksonville either. They came out of jurisdiction.
What?
Yeah, they came out of jurisdiction to my house.
Wow.
Oh.
How does that even work?
I don't get it.
I
support the blue. I want to make that
but hey, you know what? With all the shit that's gone on this year, nothing surprised me what's going on.
Dude, this would be like a conspiracy I could have covered.
You know what's starting to it's again, I think that for the most part, all of us I support the military, support police officers, support firefighters. Goes without saying. Not blind to the fact that there are, people make mistakes. There are corrupt cops. They're corrupt. They're bad. They're 100%. Bad people everywhere. Yeah. Army, military, whatever in police forces. But at some point, like they've gone so far above and beyond common sense policing, and they've gotten such a military mindset that they think they can. A lot of them think they can do whatever they want. But if you break the door down to a house at 2:00 in the morning and start walking in, and somebody returns fire or shoots you in some states, it's like they're causing that to happen. But then the person who's protecting their own house is the one that gets the cop killer moniker or whatever. Like there are other ways, like even in Iraq and in combat, we switched from kicking in doors to cordoning off houses and doing tactical call outs because it was just safer for everybody involved. Like showing up out of jurisdiction in if at the time you had a ring cam, I'd have been like, nah, like, what do you want? I'm not answering the door.
Yeah.
I'm a cop or a corrections officer, and 4 randos are showing up my house in like bulletproof vest. Nah, Sarge, like, I don't know who you are. Like, you got a warrant, slide it under the door, do something. Yeah. And the fact that we're like arresting people for not going to work, like, crazy to me. It's just
when I
I
had
mean, there'd be a
sort of-
whole lot of McDonald's workers arrested if we started that precedence.
I mean, I could probably get behind some of that. Like if you have bad service at Taco Bell, straight to jail. Straight to jail. Believe it or not, you undercook chicken, straight to jail. Overcooked chicken, also straight to jail.
Jail.
Straight to jail. Like it's insane to me.
Dude.
Like it seems like, and I would love to say that you have a one-off story, but it sounds like from what you're saying, you don't have a one-off story.
No.
That's what makes it actually really sad. Like, genuinely, if you're a good human being, you're just like, man, fuck, that's fucked up. Like,
Yeah,
bunch
like
of bullshit and corruptness.
So what can like? Are you?
I have to go, guys. I have to go, guys. Love you guys. Thank you, Ian. Hey,
are you?
we'll connect. Connect.
Yeah. Bye. Go away.
Yeah,
Are you finished with everything? Like, are you completely like the lawsuit's done?
Yep.
I'm hoping you don't live anywhere near Jacksonville, Florida any longer.
He probably doesn't even visit Jacksonville.
I'd have moved out of fucking state.
I still have my house in Yulee, but it's not in Jacksonville. And quite frankly, I haven't had any problems since this whole thing happened. I think they're smart enough to leave me alone.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's if they do try to come after me, like anything were to happen to me, they'd be the first first thing that would be investigated. And like the military's pretty much already made it clear, if they start messing with you again, it's going to become a federal matter. So,
so now moving forward, what are you trying to accomplish by telling your story? Are you trying to like help other people just get it out there? Like,
well, originally it was to clear my name, to get my side of the story, the truth of the matter out, so that people wouldn't look at me. Because that's the thing. Like, I have a TS clearance, and I still get asked about this sometimes. Because when people Google my name, they see those net news headlines, and I have to explain the whole situation to them. And that was the original intent, was just to get my side of the story out, to get the truth out, so people would know it from a public level. But honestly, now, I do hope, after thinking about it more and more, I do hope that this story will help some other people, that might be in this situation, to not give up, to not just let their employers railroad them if they're in the reserves. Because I mean, it is not just a lot of people have this mentality that when we're on drill weekends, it's just like we're hanging out, we're making extra money, but there's a lot of extra work involved. It can be a second career that can be hard to manage, especially when you work in law enforcement, because you're not working a traditional schedule most of the time.
Right.
So that is my ultimate goal, is like, if just anyone in the reserves is going through this and they hear this, to know that there's hope and that there are avenues of ways of protecting themselves. And there are people out there that will look out for their best interests.
I mean, honestly, it's almost like a warning to other, like, to join the reserves, join the National Guard, but make sure you understand how your civilian employment works with and protect yourself from possible, because there are some great places to work if you're in the National Guard.
Oh yeah,
go above and beyond and take care. So I've had a friend that worked at he was security in Las Vegas, and he ended up getting activated for years, and the casino continued to pay him, knowing that he was, as long as he was on orders, they continued to pay him, continued to give him his bonuses and all the other stuff. But to just like it, but I guess you just have to protect yourself. You have to know,
you really do,
and know the policies and all.
Well, if you're doing the right thing, you don't have nothing to worry about, right? And
well,
so
that's
if
what
you're
I was
following
told
the
too.
rules, and you did, and in the end run, you cleared yourself. And so if you're following the rules, then if crap hits the fan, eventually it's got to work out. It's got to come out at some point, and it did. It come out that you was on orders and that you were doing the right thing, and this other place was messed up.
Yeah.
And so I guess
the problem is with law enforcement that, you can clear your name, but you have to go through an obstacle course of financial difficulties, personal difficulties, going to jail for a day and then you have to clear your name. It's just, I'm glad that you're telling your story. I'm hoping that other people are listening and can take something from it. I hope that people aren't dissuaded from being police officers and in the National Guard or reserves. But I mean, to be honest, it's just, you really have to protect yourself, and you really have to know what the right answer is. so that, you know, when somebody else is trying to, because it sounds like the Jacksonville police didn't understand the policies of their own policies, let alone how the National Guard or Reserve worked. And it sounds like the National Guard or the Reserve tried to help you, but in trying to help you, kind of didn't at the same time. You know what I mean?
Well, they did help a lot.
Yeah.
Like my immediate chain of command definitely helped, and they encouraged like our battalion, our brigade level to help too, as far as not giving in, especially when that detective was going around falsely identifying himself as an Air Force OSI investigator.
That's insane.
And even after that, even after we had evidence, like my lawyer actually got depositions from the people who he questioned. And even after presenting these to that undersheriff, he still was like insistent on me taking some kind of a deal and admitting guilt to something. Like it just blew my mind. Like you really expect me to just give in after all this? Like there's just no way. I mean, like you guys tried to ruin my life on both sides of the house. There's no way I'm going to give into this, you know, cave in on this at all, especially in the 11th hour when we're like 2 days away from the civil service hearing.
Yeah, and when a lot of people will give into the pressure if they know that it'll just go away if they plead, you know what I mean? So good on you for, I mean, for, as the kids say these days, standing on business, you know what I mean? And doing the right thing and fighting for yourself and advocating for yourself. And to be honest, good on you for having all of your administratively having your ducks in a row so that you could fight it. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson learned for people that listen to your story is that, you know, it's not the sexy part of being in the military, but having administratively having your T's crossed and your I's dotted can save you.
Yes, it can.
So much in the long run. That's
But not only in your military career, but your civilian career also. You know,
right.
Save you both ways in that.
Just in
but
general.
but you wasn't in the sheriff's department. You was working as a correctional officer, correct? You wasn't even in the sheriff's office. So
I mean
it's part of it.
Right? It's part of it. Yeah, but you right. Which is sad because, you know, at some point you think somebody would have asked a question, but I guess not.
Yeah. Well, what I've seen in sheriff's offices also, it's that
good old buddy system,
the good old boy thing. But the other problem is you have the police side who are like the jocks or whatever, and then you have the sheriff or the correctional side, which and it's almost like they look down on the correctional side.
Oh, they do big time.
Like the stepchild.
We're all doing the same job, guys. Like I don't understand.
That's the thing. We got paid less. We had worse schedules.
Yeah.
We didn't get take-home cars. We had worse equipment. And like we were constantly asking the union, why aren't you guys, you know, battling for us like you do for the police? And even the union looked down on us. They're like, well, you're doing a different job. And like, no, we're not. We're doing a more dangerous job. You know, we're with these inmates 8 hours a day, our entire shift, where police officers, a lot of times they're riding around and for their entire shift may not even come into contact with another person.
Yeah.
So, exactly. I mean, and they got paid more and everything else. But yeah, that was a constant struggle we had. The everyone looked down on corrections. We were, like I said, we were like the redheaded stepchildren of the sheriff's office. We were like, they did not look at us as equals. Even in the union where we paid the same dues, had the same contracts and everything, they looked down on us. And that's why the union, when it came down to this whole thing, they were going to protect their brothers on the police side and not me because I was a corrections officer. Like they called me and were trying to convince me to take deals when they didn't even know the whole facts of the case. They just knew it was a police officer and a corrections officer, and they were immediately going to the side of the police officer. It was a well-known problem we had within the sheriff's office. A lot of my buddies got written up on BS charges from this same lieutenant who hemmed me up. And they said the same thing. I didn't do anything wrong. Why do I have to take a reprimand for this? And so like the internal affairs detectives would get their little bronze star and the corrections officer would have a black mark on the record.
Yeah.
It's really sad. I mean, you know, it was a 20-year retirement job. If I was still with them, I'd be retiring in like 5 years. That was my big motivation for going to work for them. But man, I'll tell you what, I never in my wildest dreams thought something like this would happen.
Yeah, that's insane. I'm glad you shared your story, though.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share it.
Some other people, and I mean, to be honest, I hope you have success in getting the media stuff taken care of, and even like I said, it feels like it's over for you, but it's also there's some leftover shreds of like some harassment that went on and some other stuff that went on that it's just, and guaranteed 3/4 of those people are still police officers doing the same things. That's
Well, like
Yeah,
I
I
said,
mean, did the lieutenant lose her job?
no, she was already in the retirement drop. That's why she did all this stuff, because she knew she was untouchable.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get fired from that sheriff's office, especially if you're vested. That's the thing. Even with all this going on, I was never fired. I ended up resigning. Like I was never actually fired because it's a civil service job. So if they had fired me, we would have had another lawsuit against them for wrongful termination. They tried to fire me. Like when they were doing the internal affairs, they initiated that. But then even they realized, yeah, if we fire this guy, we're going to have enough. They already knew they were going to get sued. Because even when the criminal charges were going on, my lawyer even came to me about 2 weeks after my arrest. They made an offer. They dropped the charges if I agreed not to sue them. So they already knew they'd messed up.
Yeah.
From the very get-go. They were just they spent a lot of time just trying to control damage and, trying to sweep this under the rug.
Yeah. Hey, we got to wrap this up. It's after midnight here in Italy. But Ian, I want to say, first of all, as someone who shares their story a lot and who's been through a lot of stuff, I know how hard it is to talk about things. It's not a great spot in your life, right? It's probably been an investment for you at that time and having to go through all that. But, I want to say thank you to have the courage to, come on the show and tell your story, because I guarantee you there's somebody listening within 6 degrees, 7 degrees of separation that you're probably going to help or probably have some type of advice.
I hope so.
I'm sure you got your website. If people go out to your website, I'm sure you got things out there to help them. So please look into that. I don't know about the Vatican thing. I guess I'll wait and see if, ghosts start popping out, everywhere, or something spooky happens. I just don't think there's anything there. I think they're throwing smoke for the Pope.
You'll be the first one that knows.
Yeah. I'll hit Veterans Trash Talk. I'll hit the Facebook page and let everybody know, if something goes on here in Italy. But nothing's going on. But we're gonna wrap it up here pretty quick. But Ian, do you have anything else you want to say to the audience listening out?
Just thank you very much for letting me tell my story and having me on your show. It's been a real pleasure. And to those listening, for all those fellow service members, thank you for all you do. We have we're a very big minority in this part of the world right now. There's not many people who do put on the uniform and actually are willing to go out and do their job. So, thank you for everyone who does what they do, regardless of your branch or your MOS. Yeah. And, I like I said, I do hope that if someone is going through this similar situation, I hope that this story helps them and encourages them not to give up.
Hey, one last question real quick, as far as like what people can do to help you with the media thing. Can you say what the news stations were? Because there's, this is the internet, and there are a lot of people that can go on there and just say, hey, this isn't true, whatever, or, kind of blast them on social media or their other, and just say, hey, you should retract this story. That's not true.
Yep. One of them was News for Jacks. They ran an actual news story on it. The Florida Times Union ran a page on the second page of the newspaper, not the front page, but the second page. The next morning after I was falsely arrested, the local media, the local radio stations did a broadcast on it during drive time the afternoon of my arrest. So all the local radio stations in Jacksonville. That's all I know off the top of my head. Like if you go online and just Google, like I said, if you Google search my story, it'll have all the news media coverage from when I was arrested.
Yeah, and I would say that anybody that really wants to, it's always you can always go on all of those, and they always have comments, and you can just say, this isn't a true story.
Yeah.
And you should retract this statement.
We tried, like I said, that was the first thing once this whole thing got resolved, once the lawsuit got settled, that was the first thing we tried to do was get the media to retract and create, do an updated story. And they would not, they won't even answer emails, phone calls, none of that. They won't even respond. It's like, and unfortunately, it's because the sheriff's office gives them so much of their coverage. If they were to go against the sheriff's office like that, they'd lose a lot of their ability to
well, and it's
broadcast
also
news.
Media does a lot of, if they tell the story and then that story's gone, they don't even care about it anymore because it's old news and they don't they don't
What a 15-second news cycle nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was crazy though. I still have a file of all the news clippings that I printed out right after this happened, laying around somewhere. But yeah, that was just the biggest thing. And honestly, I think if they hadn't gone to the media with the false narrative, this never would have gone this far. I think they would have taken me in, realized they made a mistake, and probably driven me home, and life would have gone on. But I think that's the problem. As soon as they got me in that squad car at my house up in Nassau County, one of them made the phone call. Hey, we got an arrest.
That was pre-planned. That was pre-planned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. I think they once you fire that bullet off, there's no taking it back, and that's the problem. I think that's once they ran with that to the media, they knew there was no turning back. They were gonna have to see this to the end.
Yeah. So, yeah. Hey, buddy, I don't have anything else. I'll let you want to close this out. Or
It was good to have you on the show, Ian.
Thank you for having me.
For the guys that are watching, like you can check us out on YouTube or Spotify. And like I said, if you feel kind of moved, I'm probably going to go to News for Jackson at Florida Times and just look it up, and then read through the story, and you've heard it from the guy that went through it, and leave him a comment, because at the end of the day, it's not just the pain in the ass of getting arrested, of having to go through it, and financially all this stuff. It takes a mental toll. It takes it takes a toll in your relationships. If you get arrested and if the guy from McDonald's gets a DUI, nobody hears about it. It's just the guy from McDonald's got a DUI. If a police officer or somebody in the military gets arrested, it goes on the news, and then whether or not you're guilty or innocent, you have to fight it. Now you have to fight
to prove your innocence,
to prove that you didn't do anything. So, it's I think your story is a good one. I think it's a warning to other people to just make sure you have administratively, you have all your stuff in a row. But thanks everybody for showing up, and Ian, thanks for being here. Cliff, always a pleasure. Have fun in Italy. I'll be in France here in the next month or two.
All right. Well, if you ever want to hit up, let me know. You're just a train right away. Real quick, I just want to tell everybody, be sure to go out to VeteranTrashTalk.com. We got all of our great merchandise out there. You get all the links to all of our great programming. And also, please keep in mind, my podcast is live Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 11 p.m. Central European Time, since I am in Italy. But hey, listen up. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so let's look out for our brothers and sisters, because we are our own keepers. And it just takes a second to make a call or a text to somebody just to see how they're doing. And also, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, you got the 4 Patriots. It's springtime now. We're going into summer. You got a lot of bad storms out there, so it's always good to have that generator or have that extra food around. Always be prepared, because you never know if something's going to happen with the natural disaster or anything like that. But hey, thanks everybody for watching. I hope I don't screw up the end of this, but I'm going to do what Chris told me, and we'll see if an old warrant officer can remember how to do something. But hey, take care, everybody, and have a great weekend.
All right, we'll see you guys later. It's good to see you.
This is a food warning. The UN warns of an unprecedented global hunger crisis. In fact, it's predicted by 2030 that 800 million folks will struggle to feed their families, which means 2 dangerous things for you. Number 1, higher prices at the grocery store. Number 2, less food available. And when panic strikes, it will be chaos, making it even harder to get the food your family needs to survive. That's why it's vital, more than ever, to have a survival food stockpile. Introducing the deluxe 3-month survival food kit from 4 Patriots. It has 688 servings of meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, with delicious recipes like pancakes, mac and cheese, Aztec chili, and potato soup. They've even got spaghetti and lasagna. This isn't your typical survival food, and over 200,000 smart Americans agree this is survival food that actually tastes good. But best of all, it's designed to last up to 25 years. You can stash it away and be confident that when a disaster strikes, you and your family will be ready. Go to 4patriots.com/VTT to get the deluxe 3-month survival food kit, and the peace of mind you deserve.
All right, I think the show's over with now. Hey, buddy, I got a question for you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Or me?
Hey, yeah, for Buddy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I had to go get another cup of coffee.
No, that's all right. I'm about ready to go get another beer. I already drank my 2 I had in the room.
Well,
Hey, did you get my book I sent you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got
I just remembered I mailed your book like months before I left to go to Italy, but I haven't been on the show for 4 months. So
Yeah, I got it. It's in the. I read it. It's in the
okay.
office right now.
Good. How would you think about it?
I kept it. No, it's good. It's a good story. I think that it. I mean, to be honest, you get so many different stories about resilience and like, you're saying the same thing in different ways that other people say the same thing, and it reverberates with. You're going to reverberate with some people.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I thought it was a really good book.
No.
Like it's well, I've always thought like your story is pretty powerful anyway. From the 9/11 stuff at the Pentagon all the way through. I think that there's just a lot of people that they don't look for the sources. They don't look for the information. Like it's out there.
Yeah.
People are giving it, but it's just sometimes it's hard to help yourself, I think. But no, I thought it was great. I am looking forward to. So what is this Emmy thing? And what is they made a video of about it or what?
Yeah. So if you go out to theablechannel.com, it's free to stream.
Yeah.
They did a surviving suicide series back when people told them you can't do this, too controversial, can't do it. And actually the filming of this cost me my military career. I was actually refrighted because of this. And that can go into a whole nother story. I was forced retired. I didn't retire on my own.
Yeah.
So anyway, cut all that out. Because of COVID, they just did a soft release on it. And then now with everything going on, the Able channel has kind of did a full release on it. And then my episode came up for an Emmy. And Brian McCourt, who was on my show about a month ago, because they had received another award, the whole series, emailed me 2 days ago and said, hey, your series specifically is up for an Emmy June 22nd.
That's awesome.
So
what's it called? Because I've never even heard of the thing. What's it called?
Surviving Suicide. And you go to theablechannel.com. I can sit on that text. I'll send you a direct link to it. Hang on a second, because he emailed me the direct link to it. So we had a film crew that lived with us for 2 months.
Really?
Yeah, they lived off and on for 2 months. He actually, Vincent, who filmed it, his website's Life Is My Movie, and he's made some very world-renowned documentaries about the fashion industry, a whole bunch of them. And he's the one that filmed it. And he tried to convince Able Channel to do a full-blown documentary on me. And at that time, they just didn't have the money to do it. So, maybe they'll do it at some point.
Maybe after your Emmy Award winner, they will.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But so what's going on with you? So you're getting married now?
Yeah. I've been with Izzy as my fiance for about 2 years now.
I think I remember you talking about her before in the past.
And she lives down. There she is. She lives she lives down around Cannes, so just outside of Nice and Monaco and all that stuff.
Okay.
So we kind of go back and forth between France and here. So yeah, when we're getting married in July. I got it. We're getting married in July in the south of France.
Oh wow! Congratulations! How awesome is that?
It'll be fun. That's true. It'll be a thing. Where are you at exactly in Italy?
Okay, so I'm at. I live on support site in Naples, Italy, Napoli.
Okay. Yeah.
My wife, she goes to Campo to work, about 30 minutes farther south from here.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, though, it's nice here. Italy's nice.
So I've been telling people, like, because of course when you mention that you're going to France or going to, everybody thinks Paris and the north
Paris
of
is a
France.
shithole.
And I told people, like, I honestly, I fucking hate Paris. Like, I don't like Paris. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But the south of France, along the coast and the Riviera,
beautiful.
and like up towards the Alps and all that shit, like that place it's different. It's not the same France. And even so she lives in a small town called Montereau that's like 30 minutes outside of Cannes.
Mhm.
And like Cannes is like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, freaking designers, rich people, all that stuff. I mean, it's the Riviera, of course. It's
Sure.
it is that, it's yachts and all that. But 30 minutes outside of it is farms and regular people, and it's awesome. I love it.
That's just like here, because here it's funny. So here in Naples, I mean, literally, you can't throw a rock and not hit an orange tree or a lemon tree.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Well,
kind of what they're known for.
we were in Italy last year at freaking Andrea Bocelli's house. He has a concert every year at his estate. So we were there. We went to the concert at his estate.
Wow.
And well, it's funny is that section, that area of Italy, especially if you're retired, like there's so much possibility to go. And it's just, I don't know. It's like a slower, easier. People aren't like, it's just, yeah. And France is kind of the same way. Like the little village that she lives in, or lived in, it's, she walks around, she knows the people. You go down to the bakery, get yourself some bread, sit out, and like her mom lives at the house. They have freaking figs and freaking olive trees all over the place. So you just, it's just, I don't know. I think it's a lot. It's easier, better. It's nice.
This is like the United States was back when I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
It was all about family. It was all about taking care of each other. It wasn't all this stupid shit going on.
100%.
And here in Naples, it's kind of the country of Italy, right? It's always been the stepchild of Italy, but they've always been a farming community.
Yeah.
Well, people go to Capri, they want to go to Sicily, they want to go to all the places they see on TV. Well, if you drive across Italy, we go to a place called Monopoli or Puglia, Italy. It's on the Arabian Sea, right?
Yeah.
It's on the other side of the coast. Absolutely beautiful. We've been there several times already. But it's funny because when you drive there, you have to drive through the mountains. And so you leave where we live, where you got all the citrus trees and all the citrus stuff, right? And you start going over the mountains and you come out, and literally it's just forest after forest after forest of olive trees.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Up around Tuscany and that's where I was just looking at the map
and we're way farther south. We're down at the Boot Hill.
Yeah, you guys are down like almost towards the actual Boot.
Yeah.
We were up just south of Pisa, and fairly south of Pisa, but like it's just rolling hills of freaking farmland and like I said, dotted with little villages. But you go into those villages and everybody knows each other. There's one or two restaurants, but they're like, you're not going to get bad food. You sit there, have some wine, talk with people. Like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoy, like I would never tell her, but like, I really like the south of France. I think it's
actually, you know what, buddy? I haven't told anybody this, but we're looking at buying property here. I don't know if we'll ever go back to the States.
I even talked to her about it. I was like, even if we buy, like, I was like, we should buy like a abandoned chateau, or because they've got them all over the place. But like the interest rate in France is at it has peaked at like an all-time high right now, and it's like 2%. And it's just like, like, why are we trying to buy land in the States when we can like buy a place there, fix it up, do like an Airbnb situation, or like.
And that's, they're selling houses here for €1.
Yeah, I told her I was gonna ship over some smokers, and then I just opened up a barbecue joint down in. I was like, these people will lose their fucking mind.
Oh, well, of course, I'm big. I'm a chef. I cook all the time.
Yeah.
And so the restaurant that I go to, I got to know the owners. Of course, Pepe, he's a restaurant. Thing. So I cook. They never had barbecue, so I made Kansas City style slow, roasted ribs and barbecue beans. They went insane over it.
Yeah.
And and they're like, you should open up a restaurant here, blah blah blah, and all this because it's different.
Yeah, and you know what? That sounds like a great idea, but it also sounds like a full-time.
Yeah, a lot of work. I'll never do it. I'll just cook for friends every now and then.
Yeah, because you have to at that point you'd have to make the sauce and source the ribs and say. So I like going over and whenever we do barbecuing or anything at the house at our mom's house, I'm the griller. So I go out and like barbecue the stuff. And I think her mom's boyfriend, Izzy, said the other day, he thinks he's getting a little taste of America when he's doing it. And I'm like, it's close. Like it's
interesting because my friend Pepe took me to his butcher. He's been going to all of his life. And the butcher, you walk in, it's small, but it's immensely clean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But any animal that's for sale in his butcher shop, he raises on his farm.
Right. Well, the other funny thing that I found is that when I go to Europe and then come back and like go to a restaurant, I'm just so annoyed. When you hear these people talking about how they should get paid $20 or $30 an hour to be servers, and they're like, the servers in Europe get paid a living wage. I was like, you are nowhere close.
Not even close.
To the level of service. Like they know the entire menu. They do that. Like they
probably speak 4 languages.
They move. Yep. They speak 4 languages. Yeah. They make sure your food is brought out with everyone else's on time. It's like the way it's supposed to be. You people Can't put a hamburger together and serve it to like 3 people at one time. You're not even in the realm of possibility.
You're not the same. You're not. And everything in the kitchen is made fresh. The tomatoes here are amazing. We already talked about the olives and the olive oil.
It's the fact that most of the stuff has no preservatives or none of the other stuff, and then honestly a lot of it is that it's very simple, you know what I mean, like the ingredients, the main ingredients are the flavor. You're not going to get like a tomato that's been broiled and then had some kind of crap poured all over it so it tastes like a hamburger, you know what I mean? I don't know, I like it. I like going there. I like coming home, but I like going there also. But yeah, I think, excuse me, so Izzy, my fiance, she works on a yacht. So she works 2 months on, 2 months off.
Nice.
And, but she's probably going to stop doing that in about a year. And when she stops doing that, I think depending on my work situation, cause I'm working with SIG right now doing the XM7 and 250. Depending on how that's going, I think we're going to try to do like I'm stuck here. Well, not stuck here. I'm here for the next 3 years just because my son is going to be in high school until the first 3 more years. But once that's done, I think we're going to probably do some kind of like some version of 6 months and 6 months.
Yeah.
But it's also like Izzy likes to ski. I like to snowboard. We went to Breckenridge in Colorado this year. It's been a week. Luckily, I have, but like, because if you're a veteran, it's next to nothing.
Yeah.
It's like $400 for a season pass. For her, it was $400 a day for a pass. You know what I mean? You go to any place in the Alps, absolutely gorgeous, like skiing, snowing. Oh,
Yeah.
all that stuff. You go anywhere there, like $60.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
we're gonna try to figure out what our kind of back and forth is going to be, but I think it's probably going to be more like a 3 month and 3 month, or a 6 month and 6 month, just depending. But
one thing about Italy I realized is that when you drive around, the buildings look like crap on the outside.
Yeah.
But you go inside, they're absolutely
Well,
immaculate.
they look like crap because they're fucking 500 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We went to Monopoly. We stayed at this place that's been in the same family since the 1800s. But on the property, they have 3,000-year-old olive trees and an actual road that was put in 109 AD.
Yeah, we're
incredible.
So the venue that Izzy got for our wedding is an old Templar farm, and it's
cool.
a lot of the same kind of stuff. But
that's cool.
It's
shit.
just and the people that bought it a couple years ago, dumped a bunch of money into it to get it back up to kind of par. But it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's but like that's one of the things I told her. It's like we need to just say the hell with it and again buy someplace and just rebuild it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what we looked at Monopoly. We looked at places down there, right? Because we want to live on the ocean. We love being on the ocean. We were in the ocean in Virginia for a lot of years, and so I think that's just what we want to do. And but here it's just like going to the grocery store, right? And so I go to the Dodeca, which is kind of like there's nothing foreign in the Dodeca restaurants. Everything comes from Italy. Everything's self-grown, whatever.
Yeah.
The food is amazing. I can buy lettuce. Right now, I grew my own shit in Virginia, but I can buy lettuce here. It's never been in the refrigerator and sit on my counter for a week, and this shit's still crispy and tastes good a week after sitting on my counter. In the States, you can't even put it in your refrigerator for 2 days and not have it go to crap.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and it's amazing to me that there's also a lot of people that just do grow their own stuff.
Yeah,
but and in the States, you go to Kroger. And it's understandable, right? We have a giant population and a giant area to that we have to ship things. So it's about getting the plant, get it planted, get as much off of it as you can, get it where it's got to go before it spoils, get it sold.
But you know as well as I do, though, buddy.
So the tomatoes taste like water.
Yeah.
The chicken tastes like not chicken. You know what I mean? You go to Europe and they're like the butcher, like you said, is killing animals that are on his property that he's taking care of. The chicken tastes like chicken. The beef tastes like beef. The freaking tomatoes taste like the best tomatoes you've ever.
Because of the volcanoes, the soil's acidic.
Yeah.
And the tomatoes
that's why they export all. People try to get those tomatoes. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's a different speed that I think, especially in retirement.
And I'm sure you saw this in France, and I've never been to France, but I am going to go. But here in Naples, where you have Napoli, when you go out on the highways and drive, and I drive a lot, I'm out almost every single day.
Yeah.
Something you don't in the States, you will see land for as far as you can see and not shit planted on it growing.
Right.
Down here, they're 365, they're growing something, and you can see gardens everywhere out here.
Yeah.
Huge gardens.
So in yes and no, in the south of France, you'll see where Izzy, like I said, where Izzy's mom lives, it's on the side of a pretty big hill. But it's all terraced and they have olive trees or gardens or whatever. But a lot of it is real rocky and hilly right there on the coast. So as soon as you get past those a little bit, about towards Spain and up a little bit, where they actually have soil and fields, it's just lavender fields or whatever. It's fields of everything. The closer to the coast, it's so rocky that I mean, they still do a lot of farming. They do a lot of planting, but most of that planting is like personal. Like people have a bunch of olive trees. They pick the olives. They use the figs. You know what I mean? It's for their own consumption because they just can't get anything to get up there and pick them. Sure. But yeah, the other thing that I've seen is that they're just, I don't know. It's like they're more attached to the land a little bit.
Just like we was in the States. You know, I grew up living off the land, and they told everybody you need to get off the farm and move to the cities. Yeah. And so people quit doing it. Now people in America are wanting to go back to homesteading, you know.
Yeah.
And
they're wanting to, but they're doing it in.
But the knowledge has been lost. I mean, why do you think we made the Indians stupid? You know, and made them drunk so to shove them on reservations so that 2 generations down, they don't realize what the elders knew about the land.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't even find people that know how to can anything these days. You know, it's not a hard process. Clean the cans, put the stuff in it.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It, seal it, and then put it up. Yeah.
Seal it, put it up, and it's good for a long, long time. You know what I mean?
Like, you know, well, when I left and came to Italy, I had a 15-year seed library for my garden that I gave to my family.
Yeah.
You know, because every time I grew something, I processed the seeds, and it was all organic. It was not GMO. Yeah. You know, I've done that a long time.
Yeah, and well, that's another reason that in Europe the tomatoes taste like tomatoes is because they haven't fucked with them,
and they won't tolerate it. They won't tolerate it. I mean, here in Italy, if you don't make your pizza, the bread, the sauce right, they won't go to your restaurant.
Right. Yeah.
You just won't exist.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I mean, to be honest, why would you when you could go to like, you know, Pepe's or whatever, where the guy's been doing it for his whole life and he's the 3rd generation of people that making pizzas. When you figured it out, there's no reason to change it. You know what I mean? Anyway, well, Cliff, I got to jump off here. I got to go.
It's about 1 o'clock morning here, but hey, buddy, it's nice talking to you. Stay in contact, man. Yeah. If you're ever down around this way or whatever, let me know, man. We can hook up and do whatever.
Yeah, man. I'll holler at you. Like I said, I'll be in France for part of July, and then we're coming back because I got to work. But other than that,
and the last week of June, I'll be in obviously Washington D.C., and then I'm going to stay in town to look at our rental house, and then go down and check out my Mustang. My buddy's watching, but back in July, I'm in town, so let me know.
All right. Cool. We'll holler at you later, Cliff. Later.
All right. Take care, buddy. Howdy, bye.
You too, man.